You can sit how you like. Oh, we're live now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the United Stand. He's just sorting himself out. Look, I don't know how to sit. But how you doing, Paul, this morning?
Sorry?
Still in your jammers. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, well, it's just one of those, I've got a few things to do today, so I thought I'd have a little line this morning. I thought, a lot of fans are used to see me in my kit and all that stuff, so I thought, well, yeah, I'll do something different this morning.
You always used to walk out with your top off, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't think I can do that nowadays, Marky. I'll put a bit of stuff. I'm not sure I can get away with that, but yeah, I just feel like a relaxing morning, so I thought I'd just sit here with pyjamas on. How's that?
It's all right. It's all right. We're going to talk straight away about the game last night, and I suppose the first thing I would say is, we'll talk about Martial, talk a bit about the way we played, but a lot sort of split the fan base, I think, a little bit. I was like, I couldn't blame that on Ollie too much. I thought we had enough possession and shots to, you'd expect to score a goal. West Ham scored one goal. I don't think that's massively on the coach for me. What was your thoughts about it yesterday? Because some people have said, well, you know what, that was one of the two cups that United could expect to maybe win. They're not expecting to win the Premier League or the Champions League, so you're out of that trophy now. But Ollie didn't seem that bothered, and you don't want to get in the habit of not winning games.
No, you don't. And this is like another situation where we spoke before about winning the Premier League game and then going up to Switzerland and young boys and getting beat by them. There's no consistency. We get a fortuitous result last weekend at West Ham with Noble missing the penalty. And you think,
okay. I didn't think we were lucky. I thought we deserved to win that.
No, listen, I thought the first half, I didn't think we were great. I honestly didn't. But we also said before that, but I'll say fortuitous in the fact that if Noble scores a penalty,
yeah,
it's 1-1, and but I think our performance, we played okay. But we also said before that listen, there's no Antonio, and it's sort of a big difference, last weekend. But we could easily come away from that with just a point. And then obviously last night, you think, okay, we'll kick on. A lot of the top teams are not going to play their full sides. A lot of the top teams like City and Chelsea got a lot of strength in depth. I thought last night we had enough strength in depth to go and win that game comfortably. And listen, we didn't play badly. I thought there were some good performances. I thought Donny did okay. I thought Lindelof did okay. But West Ham were weak too. They didn't play a full strength squad. They could have played Antonio yesterday after suspension, left him on the bench. So it was another opportunity for us, to get through to the next round. The big teams play their big players when it gets to the semi-finals. We've seen City, win it time after time. I think they've won it 6 times in the last 8 seasons. So they take it seriously. They want to win a trophy, irrespective of where they finish in the league, where they finish in the Champions Leagues. Fans want a winning trophy, and if there's an opportunity for teams like City, United, Chelsea to win a trophy, then I think we should try and go and win it. And I just sensed, we talk about the game. We didn't play well yesterday. We could easily come away from that game getting beat 3-0. Yamchenko missed that absolute sitter. Mark Noble could have made it even worse. So it's disappointing for the fans because it's a day out at Wembley. It's another trophy. We talk about, even when I was at Manchester United with Sir Alex Ferguson, our league form wasn't great, but 89-90 we won the FA Cup. The year after we won the Cup Winners' Cup. So we
Carabao Cup in '92, wasn't it? Well, Rumbelows Cup.
Yeah, so we was always winning trophies as we want to go for the title, I think, and this is probably another maybe missed opportunity for us, not to win a trophy.
Yeah, well, you look at the West Ham team, and that, I don't recognise a lot of their players because I'm not a West Ham fan, and that's not disrespectful. But look, yeah, people will blame it on Ollie. Of course they will. He's the manager. You always get the result. You always get blamed for that, as as being a manager yourself. But I've got to be honest. They don't have the strength and depth we do, West Ham. You've got a front four of Lingard, Martial, Sancho, Mata. And that, I thought Donny and Matic did well. I thought the back four didn't do too bad apart from Tellez, and Henderson, the keeper, didn't really have a lot to do, made a couple of saves. But that's where that's where there's no excuses for me. That front four, I think Leicester would like that front four. I think Everton would love that front four. And yet, in front of 75,000 fans, we're out of the Carabao Cup and we're going, it don't matter, it's our second string. To me, there's got to be questions asked about these players. I felt that Lingard, he's playing for a new contract. It was like it was Lingard FC. He wouldn't pass. He was shooting. Martial, You know, what's happening with him, with Cavani, Rashford, Ronaldo ahead of him. Sancho's a £74 million player taking time to settle. You know, Greenwood comes on and in the first minute looks on a different level.
This is exactly right. And you know what you said, you know, when you said, you know, 75,000 people at Old Trafford, you know, to watch a Carabao Cup game.
Yeah.
This is how serious the Man United fans take this. Man United fans knew that Ollie wasn't going to put out a full strength side as regards to his main 11. But they knew they were still come to see a side that was good enough to beat West Ham. And 75,000 fans is actually a fair credit to United fans on a Wednesday night to turn up and they expect to see a performance. You know,
well, City can't get that on a Saturday against Arsenal at home with the best team, can they?
You can't get it in the Champions League game, let alone the Carabao Cup game. So, you know, when you think about it and you think, right, Sancho, let's have a look what he's all about. You know, this wasn't this wasn't a top-notch West Ham side. You know, some of the players that you said you probably not even heard of. You know, so it was a time for them to shine. It was a time for them to say to the manager, look, I'm still here. You know, you mentioned about Martial and you think, well, how many people are ahead of him now? You know, was he going to go in the transfer window? Ollie said no, he's still part of his plans. And I just looked at his body language and I was thinking, you know, does he actually want to be out there? You know, on a Wednesday night, does he feel, well, because some players do that. Some players, when they're not involved in the first team on a Saturday, or more so in a Premier League game, they think, well, by the way, you're going down to so-and-so to play on a Tuesday night in the Carabao Cup. It's like, what? Why am I playing in a Carabao Cup? I'm so-and-so. And you kind of sense that body language with Martial. You know, he didn't want to be out there. Yeah, Sancho, I get, he's still learning, he's still young, but this is not a FIFA game. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not all about dribbling and trying to beat 2, 3, 4 players or little flicks and that. Yeah, it's nice when they come off, but you know, lots of Sancho and Lingard, all these flicks and farts and all that stuff. It's just like, you know, play proper football. Honestly, Mark, it winds me up. If you watch people like Giggsy and that, they get it, they pass 1-2s and they go 1-1 and they get ball. We just want to keep running with the ball and trying little flicks and little back heels. You know, and that's what I saw with Martial. I saw that times with Lingard and with Sancho. And that's where you need people to say, that's where they need to learn. It's not all about dribbling. Sometimes you can pass your way through players, you know, get yourself in the box. And, you know.
Do you think that comes with the fact that maybe some of these players, they know how hard it's to get in the team on Saturday? So instead of playing that, you know, there was one point in the second half where Lingard's running at the back four, Greenwood's wide open, and if he gets it to him, he's on his left foot cutting in. But Lingard decides, I'm going to hit this from 35 yards. And you think, is he doing that? Because if that goes in, it might get me in the team, you know, instead of playing for the team. Because I think a lot of people blamed Ollie last night, but I was like, there was loads of opportunities where we shot from 35 yards out, but it's going to take a worldie. And there's another pass further forward to someone else, get closer to the goal and create the clear-cut chance.
Absolutely spot on, Marky. And there is a bit of, you know, especially after Jesse's winner against West Ham the weekend, you know, cutting inside it. I mean, it was wonderful, wonderful finish. So ironic that he did it against the team that was there last year. But when you get that in your head, and sometimes, you know, the fans can play a part in that. How many times were we here last night when Jesse got the ball, they were going, shoot, you know, and then Donny got the ball, they were going, shoot. You know, and they get it in their head that they've got to try and make an impression, you know, by scoring a goal. You know, that's sometimes not the case. People think if I score a goal, then I've got a chance of being in the first team next week. It's not always about scoring a goal. If you're trying to shoot from 30 yards when there's a pass on for someone else who could score and put us back in the game, and you're not doing it, there's an element of selfishness about yourself. I understand strikers have to be selfish. Alan Shearer was selfish, you know, when I played with him. But Jesse's not a striker. You know, Martial's not
number
really.
10's got to pass, haven't they, times? They've got to unlock things.
They've got to be aware of what's around them. And, you know, when you've got someone like a banging form Greenwood, you know, and you don't take that opportunity because it's all about you grabbing the headlines, that's not a good mentality to have, you know. And things like that will get you out the side rather than get you in the side, if that makes sense, you know. And that's where we were. I mean, Mata, you know what you get for Mata. You honestly do. You know, you kind of feel for Mata. And then after this, I think he's one of those players who's happy to be at United. You know, there was times where he was going to go 2 or 3 years ago, and then he signed a new contract. Mata knows where he is. Mata knows that he's going to be a bit part player for United until he actually leaves. But as a professional, I admire him. I adore him. You know, he just gets on with it. And you know, maybe he doesn't get enough chances in that number 10 role. You know, I'm sure if Matt was in that position, that ball's going straight to Greenwood, without a doubt.
Trouble is, he's too slow. I think his legs are gone.
His legs are done, but he never had legs anyway.
No.
You know, Chelsea never had legs. But what I'm saying, if Mata was in that position, that ball's going straight into Greenwood.
Yeah, it's never going to shoot from there, is he?
No, he's not going to shoot from there. So there is a bit. Yeah, I need to do something to catch the manager's eye. The proper managers understand that. Listen, that's not the right thing to do. You should be passing the ball, make it a team game, not about yourself. And you know what? No one said a word to him. If that had been me on the pitch, or Keeney, or even a Schmeichel, we would have been absolutely on his back. You know what I mean? For not making that pass. And you watch United and you think, why has no one pulled him? Why has no one said anything to him? You know, because next time he'll realise that. If he thinks he can keep taking shots from 30 yards and 25 yards, and no one's going to say Dicky Bird, that's half the problem we have, you know?
Well, that was one thing I was going to ask you about, actually, because I said in my match reaction last night that I put the blame on the players. They're on the pitch. He got 25 shots. They should be creating better. But somebody did say, and a few people said it, and I think that's what you're talking about there. You know, after the first or second shot, where is the demand from the touchline to be like, you know, I think what some people's criticism last night is that, you know, Ollie in the last 2 minutes, he stood there having a laugh with David Moyes. And it's like, you know, actually, this is a trophy. You've got 75,000 fans who, you know, come from all over the country, all over the world to watch United on a Wednesday night in the Carabao Cup. You've put your second string out, that's fine. But you're also sat there having a bit of a laugh. And, you know, lots of people are being really wasteful. You know, I think Sir Alex might have been going, fucking Ince, don't fucking shoot again. You make sure you play that pass or something like that. I mean, maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But Ollie just seemed very relaxed about that yesterday.
I think when you look at Ollie anyway, he's kind of relaxed anyway. You know, even in his demeanour, and even when he manages the games anyway. But if you're getting beat in a cup game when there's, you know, when you've got a full house of United fans and, you know, you're caught there smiling with David Moyes, you know, it doesn't paint a good picture, you know. Maybe he wasn't even bothered about the Carabao Cup. You know, maybe that was it. You know, maybe he's more focused on the Premier League and the Champions League, which obviously the top teams are. You know, maybe had that kind of relaxed feeling. Well, if we get beat, we get beat. You know, I don't know. But all I'm saying is, if you are getting beat, the last thing you want to be seeing is obviously standing there smiling with Moisey. You know, when you're getting beat. And
it's not lost on me that he's an ex-Man United manager who failed as well. And it's like, I think over the two games with less players, Moyes, I thought they played well at the weekend, West Ham as well. It's like, you know, Ollie should be looking to send statements against this teams, not be bloody stood there having a chat with him. You know, I want to win. Yeah,
listen, I mean, managers do things in a different way. I mean, you know, if it's me as a manager, you won't see me sitting there smiling when my team's getting beat. You know, I'd do that probably after I'm in the office with Moyes and having a chat like managers do. They go in the office. But,
yeah,
you know, for me, it's one of those games where it's another opportunity where we lost a chance to win a trophy. You know, it really, really is. We talk about Ollie, 3 years, not won a trophy, especially after last year getting beat in the final. This was another opportunity, and it's another opportunity missed. And if we don't do well in the Champions League, and we haven't started off really well, as it is, you know, and winning the league's going to be tough, this could be another winless trophy season, and we had missed an opportunity. So, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Carabao Cup. You know, we can't be fussy. We can't say, well, it's only the Carabao Cup. It's not only the Carabao Cup to make the city, because they seem to like winning it all the time, you know, and that's how we've got to look at it. But yeah, I just thought on the top of the game, I'm not sure what was wrong with Matic. I thought if there was VAR, he would have been sent off twice. Honestly, mate, you know, you can't just go near someone in the bollocks. You can't go over the top of someone. You can't just try and elbow Mark Noble. You know,
something upset him, didn't it? I think.
Yeah, something upset. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it. You know, too many sugars in his tea, or it was. You know, it looked like he was right, and I like Matic. I really do. I think, you know, I like to see him week in and week out in that holding midfield role, because I think he's a better player than Fred in that role. He knows how to do it. He's done it for Chelsea. He's done it for his national team. I like him, but last night he seemed to be a bit of a loose cannon. You know, I mean, what made him feel that he can just go and need someone in the bollocks? I don't get it. You know what I mean? Or go over the top on someone. He seemed upset about something.
Probably upset with the attackers in front of him, really.
He did, and you can't go about that way. But he's one of those who's won trophies. He's one of those who's a leader in that team. When you think about leaders, so-called leaders, he's one of those who think, well, hang about, it's an inexperienced team. I'm the one boss of the team. I should be bossing people around, but people don't talk anymore. People just take it for granted. Oh, he's going to shoot. Okay, not my. Let's just go back again. There's no, getting onto people, and no, you can imagine that had been Klopp or Pep or Tuchel, and that happened. They'd be going absolutely bananas. We need to find that kind of demands on players. We do, whether it comes from the players or whether it comes from the staff or whether it comes collectively. We need to find the stuff that Tuchel does with Chelsea and Pep with City and Klopp with Liverpool. They demand from their players, and I don't. Alex Ferguson said to me, "I'm not going to give none of you players an inch, let alone a yard. I will put demands on you every day in training, every day on a Saturday, every day in a midweek game, and you have to kind of live up to those demands. If you don't, you're not in the side." That's what we need at United, because until you get those demands, you're always going to get inconsistencies in performances, week in, week out. And we had 27 shots. I think we had 6 on target. So we talked about creating chances. We are creating chances. Like against West Ham the weekend, I thought we played well, but we got to play. We played bad against Wolves and won. We played bad against Southampton and nicked a point. We played okay last night and got beat. We shouldn't be getting beat by under strength West Ham teams. That's for sure.
I think with regards to some people saying in the chat that this is Ollie's ways. He can have a chat with the manager if he wants to, and of course he can. Exactly, of course he can. But as somebody who's watched United for years, and obviously you've played with this manager as well, and other managers, not just Sir Alex, we're not winning trophies. We're losing games like yesterday. We lost last week. We've lost semi-finals. We've lost the final, and I just think that. I look at some of those players and there's no accountability. And that's what I blame the players for last night. But I also think Ollie or his coaches don't rocket them up the arse. And, Ollie can say, well, it's not my style. But maybe that's why you're not winning trophies. Because I tell you, there are times where those players need a right kick up the arse. You see it all the time. And if you don't do it, if you do it and it doesn't work, you've not lost anything. But if you do it, you might get that little bit extra. And I just don't think we get that little bit of extra. I think Ollie's just a little bit too passive from what I've seen. And I'd like to see a little bit of, a little bit of bite from him, because I think, yesterday there's a lot of people making a lot of similar mistakes. And just wanted I've always wanted to ask you this actually before I ask you the next thing. These footballers who come out after they've lost the game, a lot of United players will probably get some last night and some this morning. They'll go on social media. We go again. We're trying our best, but we go again. And this will be from the captain to the star player. It'd be Bruno, Harry Maguire. I think even Ronaldo did it the other day. I've never heard of Ronaldo doing this, but it's like, yeah, we'll go again. What? Who's doing that? Is that the player? Is that a change in the player? Is that a social media manager? Did you ever feel like that after a loss?
Well, I think sometimes it depends on, a lot of players will probably come out after and, especially obviously having what's been said in the change room after a game. So a lot of players will come out and they repeat exactly what the manager said after the game. It didn't work today, boys, but listen, another game Saturday, let's go again. It's a thing that it's like a cliche in football that people say, oh, yeah, we go again. Let's move forward. Let's put it to bed. Let's forget about it. But it's always hard as a player to kind of go out and say actually how you actually feel. Especially more so now on social media, but even in my time, we'd still be brave enough to say, well, listen, we weren't good enough in this department. I need to be better in midfield. Me and Kenny didn't really get it going today. Can't allow this to happen. This is making our head. This is that type of stuff. It was never like, oh yeah, well, not today. It wasn't our day today. So no, we go again next week. It wasn't like that. There was you have to be honest and have an honest assessment on how you feel, and not just come and repeat the same words that the manager said about 10 minutes ago when you're in the changing room. And I think that's what we see with. I think there's a fragility about United. I think to be fair, look at Harry Maguire. He's probably one I think. Well, we'll have a voice. But just going back to what you said, and I think when you go back to, I remember speaking to Alex about 6, 7, 8 years ago, and we were discussing about the change of managers. You know, how kind of how a manager has to act and with his players, because players are not the same players like they were in Sir Alex's days, where you can have a go at players and you get a response from players. It's more of a kind of easier kind of time with them, you know what I mean? Tap on the back, well played, you know, we can do this better. More kind of softly approach, you know? And that seemed to be the way we were going with this, you know. And I think through that, players felt they can get. It's like a, you know, like back in the day when, you know, like my parents used to get hit by your parents or smacked around by your parents, you know, and it kind of, you know, stand by your bed stuff, you know what I mean? You did what you was told, and then all of a sudden, you're not allowed to hit your kids, and rightly so. And that can, in a way, can make them kind of a little bit more, you know, they can do what they want type of thing. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I think, excuse me, I think that's what we had with Fergie. When Fergie spoke, it was like, well, we need to do as he's told, as we were told. But when these managers think they can go the other way, players get a bit, oh, okay, well, I can get away with this. I can do that. I can shoot from 30 yards and no one's going to have a go at me. And that's how the manager's role was going. All right. And that's perfect, you know. But now when you talk about winners, it's kind of changed now. That's kind of, it's like a full circle. I think like Tuchel's like Ferguson. I do. I think, you know, because the way they just now on the line, berating, shouting, getting onto their players, they're the ones who are winning games. They're the ones who are winning trophies. They're the ones who are winning titles. You know, and I think kind of hard approach now is coming back round again. And you're right what you say, Marky. I think sometimes if Ollie was, it's not about, that's not the way I am. You can't say, well, I'm not really that way. You know, believe it or not, when I managed, I was more like Ollie, to be fair. You know, people think, oh, when because of the way I played, they thought, oh, I can imagine it as a manager, he'd be like doing this and on that. So no, but I wasn't. I was actually kind of, you know, I was managing Macclesfield. You couldn't go in ranting and raving. I was managing the MK Dons. I couldn't go in ranting and raving, you know. But I had a softly approach to it. But when I wasn't happy, boy, did they know about it. They knew about it. And I think that's something that Ollie might have to take on board. He has to show that sometimes he ain't happy. And if whether that's on the touchline, he might do it in the changing room. I don't know. We're not in the changing room. But I think as fans and, you know, ex-players, we want to see that kind of on the touchline. Whether it's him or whether it's Mickey Finnan, we want to see someone go, oh, you, this ain't good enough. Get him here. You know, right, you ain't doing it, come off, bring him on. People go, fuck me, Ollie's lost it. That's what we want to see now and then. And it's not a case as well, that's not the way I am really. You have to fight. You have to have all facets as a manager. You have to have all different types of, you know, ways of getting to your players. And if you only got one way, and you're talking about big stars here, we're talking about big stars, big egos. And the softly approach not always works. You know, sometimes we have to go the other way. So people say, well, hang about, I've never seen this side of Ollie before. We need to up our game, up our demands, you know, and start doing that, and then you start getting consistent results.
It's funny because someone said he shouted at Lingard before. I think that was about 3 years ago. So, you know, once every 3 years, I don't know. I saw someone in the chat saying, oh, look at Mark, he's talking with Paul now and he's blaming it on Ollie. I'm not blaming it on Ollie at all. I still think the players were responsible last night. But I also think that when he comes out after the game and says, I can't fault their attitude, actually, I would be giving him a bollocking after the match because that makes it acceptable. I don't think we lost the game because of Ollie yesterday. Oh. Unless you're unhappy with him making 11 changes, which I said we should do. What I was unhappy about was with the front four, especially, who I think let the rest of the team down. You know, and I think that they deserve a bit of a bollocking, not a pat on the back. Oh, you tried hard. I mean, I'd have been furious with Lingard. I really would. I'd have been furious with Martial, and I would have been furious with Sancho. But maybe not in the case of Sancho because he's still adjusting and he's a young lad and he's a new signing. But you know, you've got to handle that one carefully because he's new. But I think Lingard and Martial as senior Man United players, they've been there a long time. I'd expect a little bit more from them, a little bit more team play, and I don't think we got it. Just on those. Martial, he's had a lot of the stick. Even in the chat, I can see a lot of people going in on that. The only thing I said is that it gets on my nerves when it happens a lot with Pogba. It happened with De Gea last year, Bruno, and Martial's always had it. I think the media feed into it, but I certainly think some of our fan base do. Everyone's just talking about Martial this morning. And I'm like, yeah, he did play crap. And I don't know what your opinions are on his future. I think he's finished. I don't see how you get back in the team. I certainly don't think it's, Martial played at number 9 with no service last night. He didn't play well, but there's no service. I do feel that if you want to go in on Martial, you've got to go in on a couple of other players around him as well. There was 3 or 4 players yesterday who let themselves down and therefore let the team down.
Well, listen, as a striker, don't care how good you are, if you're Harry Kane or Lewandowski, it don't matter. Ronaldo, it don't matter. If you ain't getting services from wide or through the middle, you ain't going to score goals. You ain't going to get chances. We didn't really have, when you think about Matic and Donny, then, they're not ones, who can provide you with like splitting passes balls where you can be in on goal. That's Bruno Fernandes who does that stuff, as we saw when he came on. Completely different game change when he came on. So you are required to service, but also when you think about Martial, he's got the ability and talent to create goals himself. He's one of those players, who can get the ball, can go past 1 or 2 players. How many times did we see last night where he kept coming deep, coming into midfield to get the ball because he was starved of it. Rather than be patient and make runs in behind to stretch the back 4 of West Ham, then he can go and do his magic. He never did, and
I agree with you on that, Paul. Actually, I think that's the one thing. You can talk about service, like you say. Greenwood came on in the first minute. He makes that run in behind. Donny dinks it over the top. Martial didn't have any service, but he doesn't make the runs as a number 9 either. Yeah,
because sometimes there's this kind of mentality, where you think, well, do I really want to run in behind? Do I want to make that 30, 40-yard run to try and get in behind West Ham and score a goal? Or do I want to come short, get in the ball, try and do my little stuff? As a striker, you've got... Because, listen, I'll be saying Martial's a striker for one. We've never said... you might think he's a striker, but we've never said he's a striker. I don't see him as a striker. Like I don't see Rashford as a striker. Like I don't see Greenwood as a striker. Martial's probably one you put on the wing, where he gets more of the ball and he can make things happen. So he's not a striker, but he's in that role where he can create and he can do stuff United, and coming short and coming past the midfield to pick the ball up, is not a way you're going to get goals and get chances. And I just think the more it carried on, the more he saw his body language kind of drop, and he never looks the happiest any times, most of the times, Martial. And sometimes I've always said this about Martial, he's at the biggest club in the world, and if that was me, I'd be smiling every day. I went to training or got on the pitch. He never smiles. He never seems happy, and more so yesterday. And listen, he's a frustrated figure. There's times where he could have came on and he's brought Lingard on, he's brought other players on. As you said before, at the start of the show, he's down the pecking order as far as strikers are concerned. And I, for one, he should have gone at the start of the season. He was one maybe we, could have got a few quid for. I mean, you could probably sell him on for 35, 40 million pound, Martial.
But you can't see. I was going to say that realistically, what's your opinion on Martial's future? I mean, the Carabao Cup is a chance for these players to play. That's gone now. So we've already lost the first Champions League game, so he's got to go strong in that all the way till Christmas. Premier League, he needs to go strong every week. Cavani, we're talking about whether he can get game time because Ronaldo wants us to play every minute. I can only see an exit for Martial. Although I predicted in the summer I thought he'd have a big year, but I look at it now, too many players, and there's a bit of money there that you can spend elsewhere on the team.
Yeah, there is, but I also think we got to be careful because I think things do change. Week in and month in. We say, oh yeah, Ronaldo's going to play every game. He's 36. Who knows that? God forbid, he doesn't pick up an injury. But he could pick up an injury. He's out for 3 or 4 weeks. Martial comes back in, gets a couple of goals, gets a run in the team. All the same, you've seen it so many times, and I've seen it so many times in the game where a player comes back in. He's been out in Siberia, does well, and got a year left, and all of a sudden signs a 4-year contract. You think, well, where's that come from? Yeah. I've seen it so many times, Marky, and I think Martial's got to be ready for his opportunity. I don't think Ronaldo's going to play. Won't play every game. I don't think whether he plays every Premier League game, I don't know. But yesterday was an opportunity for Martial to say to the manager, look at me. Look at me. I still want to kind of push for a shirt. And that was probably the sad thing about yesterday. There was probably 1 or 2 players who said to the manager, look at me. I want to be in that first team 11 come Saturday. I want to be in the Premier League team week in and week out.
Do you think anyone from yesterday did do a case for being in the first team, because a lot of people very impressed with Donny. We were talking a little bit just before air. I would put Donny into that team, but that's not because I think he was amazing, but I just don't think Fred and McTominay are good. So I think, somebody said this morning, everyone's getting carried away with Donny. That performance he put in last night is what you would expect from any top 10 Premier League midfielder. And I replied to them, I said, yeah, but that's the problem. We've got Fred and McTominay in there. I think Donny had a very steady performance yesterday and did everything you would want a midfielder to do. And I think he stands out because you won't get that from a Fred or McTominay.
I'll tell you what, whoever said that's the kind of performance you expect from a top Premier League midfield player, that wasn't a performance from a top Premier League midfield player. Let me tell you that now. And they're kidding themselves. What it was, it's performance to say to Ollie, listen, put me in. I see an opportunity here. We see an opportunity here where, Fred, for us, not great, very inconsistent. We've had this all every show we do. But Donny said, listen, I need to kind of grab this opportunity to say, right, bang, I'm fighting for this place. I know there's opportunity for me to play in that midfield because Fred and McTominay are not pulling up any trees at this moment of time. It wasn't a performance of a top midfield player. It wasn't at all. But for someone like Donny who's had a hard time, a tough time, a frustrating time, he didn't let it affect him, did it? You're right, Marky, you're spot on. He did a professional job. He did everything okay, good, and, I sensed the crowd want him to do well. And why not change it? Why keep going with Fred and McTominay? If someone's pushing for a place, give them opportunity. You won't be giving Martial that because he didn't show those signs last night that he wanted to get into that Manchester United team for the weekend. And, again, I revert back to Lindelof. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was harsh when he come out the side for Varane. You called it. You knew it was going to be Varane and Maguire. But he's come back in the side yesterday and just gone about and done his job. And that's what you expect from Man United. No fuss, no qualms, just go and do my job. If one of these centre-halves get injured, I'm back in there. And that's how you've got to treat it. It wasn't a world-class performance from Donny, but it was a performance where you think, yeah, he did okay. It'd been easy for him to just chuck in the towel and go, well, I'm not getting any minutes. I could be gone in January. No, it was different class in his attitude and the way he approached the game. And so that's what the fans are going, well, give an opportunity.
Why? Here's a question for you then. Three different reasons really. We spoke about Martial. We spoke about Mata. Probably no legs. Sancho's a £74 million signing. I think he's 2 years older than Mason Greenwood. Jesse Lingard's 10 years older than Mason Greenwood. Why does Mason Greenwood perform better at 19 than Sancho, Lingard, Martial, and Mata yesterday? Because I thought he was fantastic. He nearly scored, but he's running at players. He's taking them on. Every time he gets the ball, you think it reminded me of Martial 3 years ago. Like but he's 19 and he's outshining. Jesse wants a new contract, bling and all that. And Sancho I'm £74 million. Look at me. And Martial, I want to play up front. And Mata's just happy to be here, like you say. But why is that? Why is Mason Greenwood coming on the pitch at 19 and putting them lot in the shade?
You know what? And the word that you said, or the number that you said, says it all. 19. He's young. He's fearless. I remember when I was at United, even at West Ham, 17, 18, playing in the first team. I didn't care. There was no pressure on me to perform. I just went and played as if I was playing in the school with my kids, with my mates at school. There was no pressure on me. Even when I went to United, there was pressure because it was Manchester United, but I was only 21. There was no pressure for me to perform. It was all around the guys who were around me, the Robsons and the Phelans and the Bruces. They were the ones who had all the pressure because they were the senior players. And this is exactly where we are today. Mason Greenwood plays like he's free. He does what he does. He's not worried about making mistakes. If he misses a goal, he'll be putting himself in the right positions. The fans love him, which helps, always helps. And then you go to Jesse Lingard, there's pushing him to get a new contract. You talk about Matic and Mata, they're senior players. They should know better. Sancho again, there's pressure on him. It costs £74 million. Mason Greenwood didn't cost nothing. If Mason Greenwood was to go to Barcelona, next year, or Real Madrid, which is possible in the next few years, you know what I mean? And it costs £80, £100 million. All of a sudden, that kind of mentality from being a 19-year-old kid brought up by Manchester United, that goes away. Now I'm at Real Madrid, I'm worth £100 million. I've got to perform. The expectation I've got to perform changes, and that changes the way you think as a player. It really does. I mean, my son's 29 now. You know, when he was 18, 19, he just played with freedom and he did what he did. All of a sudden, you get to 24, 25, and then you start thinking about it too much. You start thinking about the game and what if I don't play well here? And at 19, you don't do that. You just come on. You play with freedom, and that's why we're seeing. And I'm sure he do that throughout his career. But what fans and people outside football don't see and don't understand, from a mental point of view, as you get older, all of a sudden you tend to start thinking about things. You have marriage, you have children, you start thinking. But there's so many kind of things that happen that change your mindset. It's not all just about then being what you were like when you were 19, when you didn't have a care in the world. You know, you can just go and just focus on football. You know, you're a married man yourself, Mike. Things change. You know, you have more things, responsibility. And I think that's what you see with some of these players. And the word is responsibility. It's Match's responsibility. Matic's responsibility to make sure that team performs. They're the senior players. Jesse Lingard, you know, he's thinking about, am I going to get a 3-4 year contract? What am I going to do? I could be out of contract at the end of the season. Where am I going to go? You know, Sancho, I need to perform. I'm at Old Trafford. I cost £75 million. I know the fans are saying, when are we going to see the real Sancho? He's still a young kid. He's still learning his trade. But to him, he's like, I've cost a lot of money. I'm not getting game time. That's the mentality that people go away with, players go with, and they think about it. And fans don't see that side. But it's tough to have that price tag.
It is. I mean, just going to ask about Sancho. I mean, the thing, I'm quite relaxed about Sancho. I felt he might take a little bit of time to settle in. But to be honest, you know, I don't mind criticising players as long as it's done in a fair way. And I thought in the first half he was miles off the pace. His touch was terrible. He was a little bit better in the second half, to be fair. And look, he deserves that patience, and he'll get that from United fans. But I mean, it's a bit of a different question. I mean, £74 million. He was the priority signing. All I look at is we've spoken about Martial, we speak about Lingard, but you still got Ronaldo, Cavani, Rashford, Bruno, Pogba, and we're talking about Lingard, Sancho, and I just think, you know, we need a midfielder. We spent £74 million. Greenwood's another one. That young Alanga looks like a player that I think Sir Alex would be feeding in. You know, Diallo's another one. Ahmad. The only thing I think about Sancho is that, and I'm glad we've got him, but would we really miss him if we didn't have him? Because we've got so many options. And I think that feeds into the thing. That going out last night is a bad thing because we've got so many players that he literally cannot keep them happy. You can't.
I think, listen, I think when you the problem you always have when you have so many players is you feel like you've got to give everyone a game. And you feel, you know, if I'm one of the board owners up there and I've just spent £74 million on Sancho and he's sitting on the bench but only playing in Carabao games, then there's a problem. Because then I'm going to my manager saying, you just asked me for £74 million or whatever it may be for Sancho, and the only time I get to see him is in the Carabao Cup. You know what I'm saying? So a manager feels, Jesus Christ, I need to fit him in, I need to put him in somewhere, I need to get him into the team. You know, I need to justify the fact, well, I've just took £70 million off my owner. And they never need to get him. They didn't need to buy him. Never needed to buy him. And I said it from the start. As much as like, yeah, I'm glad we got him. And I think in the future, as he gets used to the Manchester United way, he could be a fantastic player. But you know, he's older than Greenwood. You know, Greenwood's only 19. Greenwood plays in that position where he plays, but supposedly plays. I mean, for some reason we play him on the left at United. I don't get that. He's always played on the right for Dortmund. You know, and then we play him on the left, which obviously can't suit him. But he does play on the right, and that's where Greenwood plays. So, and we said at the start when we first started doing this show at the start of the season, is he going to come in and stop Greenwood, you know, from progressing and being a great player that I believe he will become, Greenwood? The way Greenwood started the season, you can't see him getting ahead of Greenwood, can you? So he has to find another position for him. You're right, Rashford still needs to come back. So, you know, having all those options seems great on the board, but when you think I need to get him in the side, but the players he can't get in the side because the players are in front of him performing so well, then people start asking questions. And I think he has to understand, Sancho, this is not Dortmund. You know, German league's not as tough as the Premier League. Dortmund will play most weeks and they'll win 5-0, 6-0. You know, they get a couple of goals, they assist a couple. if he loses the ball, he can just stand still and they'll get it back 2 minutes later and he'll be on attack again. You know, the Premier League's not like that. You're not going to teams and winning 4 and 5s, you know, where you're getting 2 or 3 goals. You know, people in the Premier League are aware of you. It's a different league. The intensity and the diversity of the Premier League is completely different. You know, and I think he needs to get into that mould, because I think when he first came, and I watched him closely, a couple of times he lost the ball and he just thought, he stood still. And then there's a kind of realisation that he needs to get back. This is not Dortmund. And I think he will get there. But you're right. I'm not sure why we needed to spend that type of money. I always felt we spoke about a centre midfield player. We even spoke about a striker. You know, Cavani, because Cavani is, you know, he's not getting any younger. You know, he has a few injuries. You know, he misses a lot of games. Luckily, we got Ronnie, R7 in. But even before that, we were talking about we need a top centre forward. We need a top midfield player. You know, even a top left back. I know Luke Shaw's been outstanding, but if Luke Shaw doesn't play, you know, we need a top left back. I mean, even 2 midfield players. If you look at our midfield players now, and we talk about McTominay and Fred and Donny, you know, I'd probably say we need 2 top midfield players. You know, yeah. So spending £74 million on Sancho, you know, might have been a bit premature. But like, clubs panic. It's just like when City, we heard about Ronaldo going to City. You know, all of a sudden that can't happen. He's got to come to United. And when you work in recruitment and you work in those kind of lines of agencies and phone calls and this, and they say, oh, by the way, I think, you know, City are going to come in for Sancho, or you're going to go to Arsenal, or you're going to go to Liverpool. You know, he's going to go next week. All of a sudden you think, oh, we need to make sure that we're involved in this. And that's how it works in the transfer market business. You know, you hear all these things and you panic, you go, right, we better get him, you know, because we don't let anybody else to have him, or a top team to have him. And that's how it works. That's what we've seen. Hopefully he will grow. It's going to be not soon. As you said, the thing about United fans, they will give him time. And we know what he's capable of. And I also think there's a sense of lack of confidence. I think, not say confidence, probably not the word, but he didn't really get a lot of game time in the Euros. You know, we thought he'd be one of like the shining stars in the Euros, and he didn't get a lot of game time. So that can be a bit of a downer. You know, coming back from a Euros where you're not really played, you know, as much as you like to have thought, you come back into pre-season a little bit negative, played a lot of games, a little bit down. You know, maybe that can be, you know, be a kind of an issue with him, you know, and it's new surroundings for him. People don't understand.
Yeah, he's got to settle, hasn't he?
Yeah, people do not understand how big it is going to Manchester United. You know, what's expected, what it takes. You know, people will never understand it unless you're a player. You know, and that's why we all say he's not a Man United player, because you have to be a certain player to be a Man United player. And, you know, I still believe that Sancho will be a Man United player. We just got to give him time.
Yeah, and somebody's saying there, oh, you know, you're a bit of a hypocrite, Mark, because you said you wanted Sancho in the summer, and now you're saying, you know, what was it a waste of money? I did want him in the summer, but I expected Lingard to go, I expected Mata to go, and I didn't know we were going to sign Ronaldo. So that's 3 players in the sort of areas that Sancho is now competing with, as well as Martial. Probably people thought he might go as well. So what I'm saying is I like Sancho, and I think he will be a great player at United. But when you look at the money we spent on him, and I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Rashford's going to be back, he'll start, and Mason Greenwood, to me, looks like he should be starting ahead of nearly every player we've got. So that's not going to change. He's going to get better and better. I mean, Greenwood, for me, he's got to start. Rashford will start. Ronaldo will start. Bruno will start. So where does Sancho start for 74 million? That's what I'm saying. Is that for all the options we've got, did we need to spend 74 million on Sancho? Would we have massively missed him? Well, obviously not at the moment. We wouldn't have done, because we've not seen the best of him. I'm sure we will do, but it's still going to create an interesting thing, because I really do like Greenwood. But when all said and go on, Paul.
I know what you're saying, but the bottom line is: was he a priority? Was he a must? That's what you're saying. Was he a must? When you look at the top of the list, who do we need? Did we need Sancho? No, we didn't, because we've got people who are going to have to play in that position. You know, maybe someone, okay, if we get him 3rd or 4th, I get that. But was he our main priority? And when you as a manager and as a recruitment team, you go, who do we need? We definitely got to get the centre forward. We definitely got to get a midfield player. He wasn't top of the list, and that's all you're saying. Yeah.
Well, look, whether we like it or not, that was 11 changes yesterday from the team that will probably play on Saturday against Villa. Bit of pressure on Ollie now. As we said at the start of the show, Paul, it's a trophy that Carabao Cup and FA Cup are probably the 2 realistic trophies we could win, really. One of them's gone. Villa at the weekend, then Villarreal, then Everton. If he loses one of those games, any of those three, then that pressure will start to build on him. But it is a totally different team. We'll probably see hopefully three comfortable home wins. But, has he put a bit of pressure on himself? Or do you think it's just, we move on and it's a different team and that'll be forgotten very quickly?
Well, it doesn't really matter whether it's a different team. We saw the same team go to Wolves and should have got beat. The same team go to Southampton. So when we say, Pogba's back, Fernandes is back, Ronnie's back, these are players that, have put in average performances against some of the teams that we played seen in the Premier League. So I think the big game is Villarreal. I think that's a massive, massive game. That's the game we need to win. I think the bread and butter games, the Villa, which is never going to be easy. Villa, a decent side, very good side. And we know what Everton have done this season. They're okay. But I think if I looked at the 3 games, I think the Villarreal is the massive game. I think that's the one you think we need to win that. We can't afford to be dropping 4 or 5 points behind these teams.
Got to win your home games, haven't you, in Champions League?
You got to win your home games in the Champions League. You hopefully think, but even Villa and Everton, they're 2 tough games. As I said, if we get a great performance from United against in the next 3 weeks, I expect us to win all those 3 games. I really, really do. But we're not sure what we're going to get. And this is what I keep saying to people. I'm not sure what I'm going to get when the whistle goes. I can tell by the first 10, 15 minutes, here we go. And I'll sit there and I'm going to enjoy it. But I think looking at those 3 games, the Villarreal has to be the biggest one, because, to not be in the Champions League, it might not have to be in the Champions League. And, the group that we got, we thought, it's a comfortable group. We should be able to get out of that. And all of a sudden things happen, players get sent off, and it changes the whole dynamic. So Ollie knows this, and he's manager of Manchester United, biggest club in the world. Every time he gets beat, he's going to be under pressure. Every time he has a bad performance, he's going to be under pressure. That's the way of the manager. Ollie knows that, and he knows that for a long, long time. But looking at those games, if we get beat by Villarreal, then there will be a few unhappy people, mate. But fingers crossed we won't.
Well, look, Paul, it's been a pleasure to get you on this morning. You're going to stay in your pajamas all day, or you're not in your pajamas?
I'm just look.
That's what I said. You're going to stay in your pajamas all day.
Yeah, did you like them though? Do you like them?
I don't wear them.
What do you mean you don't wear them?
Use your imagination. No, I do really. I do. I often, if I'm doing an evening show, I'll often have a quick bath and then just do my show in my pajamas. Straight to bed then, isn't it?
It's nice and it's cool. Different approach sometimes, Market.
Yeah. Next time you're on BT, just you say I'm going to do it in my pajamas. Relaxed.
PLP, not BT.
All right. Okay. Well, look, mate. Cheers. Thanks very much for coming on. I hope you have a good day and a weekend as well. Nice weather down there, by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's quite nice, it looks all right. I'm not much to do today. I'm just going to chill out, and then I'm going to go to. So I've got to get some water down. I'm getting the freedom to the city of my borough, Dagenham and Redbridge. So
just a standard day in the day of Paul Ince. Look, it's getting the freedom of a city. Look,
I want to go to that final. So anyway, thanks for having me, mate, and I'll see you next week. Hopefully with a smile on our face.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Take care. Speak to you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye. Well, big shout out to Ince for popping on this morning in his pajamas. But look, you know what? It's we're going to have the preview at 2:00 anyway, as I said. I didn't know whether it was going to be the press conference reaction because he did it on a Thursday last year. But I think Ollie's got the day off today, so he'll do it tomorrow, won't he? So we'll do a preview this afternoon at 2:00 live. And 3:00, I'm doing my Manchester United career mode on FIFA 22. I'm very excited about that, but that's not real life. In real life, football, Manchester United, different 11 on Saturday. I can park that off. Like last night, I enjoyed it for what it was. There were some things that were disappointing. As I said, I think the attackers let themselves down. Yeah, of course, Ollie's going to take a little bit of the blame, for some of you, a large portion of the blame. But I do think that players played for themselves last night and not for the team. And maybe they're playing for themselves because they want to impress to get in the first team, and that can backfire. I did feel sorry for Matic and Donny. I thought they played for the team and they ran the midfield. I thought the back four did quite well, apart from Tellez and Henderson. But the front four, it was like everyone was trying to do something to. And this is the problem when you make 11 changes. I wanted it to happen, but I didn't think about this. The attackers, it looked like they were trying to do something amazing to go, look at me, Ollie, I should be in the first team. And I think if you'd played the first team, they would have won that game because they would have played as a team. But look, I think on Saturday it'll be a different game. Wednesday it'll be a different game because it'll be the first team, different mentality. But Claire says it felt like the players were trying too hard. Lingard was trying too hard, and I'm not even having a go at Jesse, but he was playing for himself. And you know, Martial wasn't making the runs. Sancho's still adjusting. Mata's legs are gone, and that's your front four. And you wonder why we didn't score. You know, one player's playing for themselves or trying to do something for themselves because they want to get in the first team. Another player's adjusting. Another player's too old. Another player's just not probably engaged. You know, I don't know. So you know, you can see why we struggled. But I do agree with Ollie making the changes that he did. But ultimately, we're out of the Carabao Cup for it. But that result won't impact Saturday. It's a different set of players. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I'll be back at 2 o'clock. If you want to watch the Goldbridge career mode, don't worry, because it's not going to happen before 2 anyway, and I will give you the details for that. Kicks off today as well. Have a great day. See you at 2 o'clock for the Villa preview. And thanks to Ince and everyone for tuning in. Speak to you in a bit.